The next LTS Ubuntu has just been released into beta after a slight delay due to the XZ compression bug. They also took time to fix the Y2038 bug and upgrading the Linux kernel to 6.8. So today we are going to have a look at the new LTS beta and see what is good, what is bad, and well, what is Ubuntu. Thanks for checking out this video where we're going to do a brief look at the Noble Numbat Ubuntu LTS 24.04 LTS release. So this is a little bit behind the traditional Ubuntu schedule, probably for the first time since I've been in Linux that Ubuntu is effectively missing their planned schedules for the very good reason that there was a very serious bug that needed to be addressed in the entire Linux community. And so we are fixing that in this particular build. And so what I wanted to do is, first let's go ahead and chat really quick about the installation process, because they have really done a lot of good things to streamline the process of running our whole system over here. And in this instance, I gotta say the installer just can be defined by three simple letters, WOW. Wow, it's a really good installer. They have put a lot into making the installer better. They did a couple things. So one of them is the minimal install is the default, and you have the option for what they are calling the offline. They call it like an offline edition, or offline friendly is what they use in their notes there. And I will have some commentary about that in a little bit. But the other thing that they have done is included some provisioning for mass deployment. So if you are talking about doing a business and wanting to run a uniform Linux distribution across all of the computers in your business, they can now do this through a network config file. So you can set up a network file, you can customize everything exactly the way you want it, you can deploy it on your company server, and then you can click that button in the installer and it will install Ubuntu according to those particular layouts. So that is definitely something really good in this latest edition. So the installation process itself is super simple, as easy as any Linux distribution could be to install, and they've really taken out all of the questionable parts about what in the world it takes to install an operating system. It's literally like installing anything else. It is that stinking easy. We also have LVM encryption by default, and I didn't write down my notes. I forget what they are, but you'll see it on the screen here. The options we have for different forms of disk. I can't remember if it's ButterFS or ZFS, but there are a few different options that you have for file systems in addition to the ext4. And so the installation process is very smooth. On the downside, the full state of the software is called offline friendly, which is really feeding into that cultural zeitgeist of an online world. And I think that we would benefit more from being less online and less perpetually connected to the internet. So it's like the default of the install now assumes that you want to do everything in a cloud-based deployment, but that's not necessarily the best way for us as a society and as a civilization. Yes, the internet is a great tool and cloud can be a good implementation of such tool, but there are serious implications to doing that. Now, the other issue is, man, this takes a long time to install. Every other distribution I've installed the real hardware in the recent couple of weeks. I did a Fedora, I did a Debian, a Linux Mint Debian Edition, regular Linux Mint, and EndeavourOS. All of those distributions took between 5 and 10 minutes to install. The Ubuntu installer, for whatever reason, is taking 30 minutes. And it wasn't downloading extra stuff because I actually was doing this install at my friend's house and they have fiber now. And so I downloaded the entire 5 gigabyte distro in less than 6 minutes. So even if it's trying to download its whole self again, it still took way longer to install than any other Linux distribution does. I have no earthly idea why in the world that is the case. So just keep that in mind. Now, we're going to go ahead and jump on over to the distribution itself now, and then we're going to talk about the app changes, some of the updates, the App Center. We're going to talk about a few under the hood items that is not as easy to see in just looking at the distribution, and then we will go ahead and wrap up with a couple of small issues at the very end. So logging in here, the first thing that we're going to see is it is the new GNOME implementation. This is GNOME 46. So if we head on over to our basic system settings and go down, look at our system and about, we'll see that we are running Ubuntu Noble Numbat, and we are on, does it tell us what we have as far as GNOME? Let's see, GNOME 46. We're running Wayland, KVM virtualization, Linux kernel 6.8. So there covers some of our general basics. Of course, our new settings panel, there's not a whole lot seriously different. One of the big things that is new is online accounts under Microsoft Personal. This will now manage your OneDrive account. So if you want that, of course, there's no connections if you do not plug anything in there. It's the same thing they were doing with Google before and Nextcloud before as well. We have Ubuntu desktop settings over here. We can set our icon positions. I have no idea who in the world greenlit a lower right for icon positions. That is completely insane to me. So we can go ahead and push any new desktop icons up in that general direction. And we do have options for auto hiding the dock. And I think the dock is a little bit too big, so I like making it a little bit smaller personally. You can choose, does it auto hide? You can do tiling pop-ups, tiling groups. There's a bunch of other things that you can do inside of here. Also new in this LTS is the styling. These are not brand new to this edition. These were rolled out in a in-between release a couple versions ago, but you can now choose light or dark and the basic accent color. So that is a nice feature in the new system as well. We'll go with dark and we'll keep it on the classic Ubuntu orange for now. Other items we've covered in other GNOME 46 release, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on what's on GNOME 46. The other thing, of course, is if you look at your installed software, they have removed all of the games from the install. They've not removed them from the repository. If you want the games, you can go ahead and still install them, but this is the first LTS they've done that. Now, the other thing that you will find is the Thunderbird version is a snap. This is, some people were, myself included, are concerned that when you go to install things under the apt commands, you might get the snap version instead. And indeed, now Thunderbird has added to that particular list. So if we go down and look at our About Thunderbird, it should tell us that it is a snap package. It's not actually telling us that, but it does tell us that when we go into the App Center. So as far as app updates, the other thing that we have is there is a new search function in Nautilus, which will allow you to search a variety of different places. So I don't recall if I've actually played around with this, but here you can search anything. You can search types of files, full text, file names, select dates, and things like that. So they do have a nice new advanced search feature inside of Nautilus, which is nice. LibreOffice, if you go to install the full version, or what they call the offline friendly, then what you're going to see over here is you're going to get the 24.2 branch, and transmission goes up to the 4.0. So here is your transmission. Other software, I do not know if this is brand new to this LDS or if it was in here and I just haven't noticed it before, but Ubuntu now has a startup disk creator, or what I would call a USB writer. Allows you to just grab an ISO image and pop it onto a USB drive and go ahead and burn the system drive. So if you are looking to make ISO images or things like that, we have a new native tool that is installed on Ubuntu by default. Again, let me know in the comments, when was that added in? Did I just miss it in a previous edition, or is that indeed still true? Now, as far as the App Center, this is the full implementation of the new App Center that is rolling out. So you'll see that Cheese is over here now and is not installed by default. They removed Cheese, one of the app changes. They removed Cheese and replaced it with GNOME Snapshots over here, which is a very mature and very competent system. And you can choose whether you want to show the mouse pointer or not. You can do pictures, photos, and you can do the screen and things like that. That's for screen recording, although I don't know if we have, they say replace that with Snapshot. Maybe I have that completely incorrect. Let me see if there's another Snapshot application. Maybe they did this. Maybe this is the one they did. Maybe I was misunderstanding the initial release notes. This is another GNOME software package. Yes, my apologies for that. So this is the new application that they have. They just call it Camera, and this is going to be a replacement for Cheese. So if you remember, Cheese was, some people were using it just to film themselves inside of the distribution. So my apologies for that. But yeah, this guy, hey, the screen capping is still good as well. Of course, that is a part of GNOME. And as far as other changes in the App Center, it is very easy if you're going to search for something. It is very easy to tell if you are searching for a snap or if you are searching for a Debian package. Up here, these are snap. Here's the Debian versions. You can see all results for, and under this, you can sort by relevance, alphabetical. You can filter by snap or by Debian. Of course, the downsides of this is that Snap is still the default. They're trying to push you on snaps instead of anything else. So that is certainly a problematic thing. Also, the other issue that I see is that it still cannot manage your deb packages. So I went ahead and downloaded a deb package, and just to go ahead and double check that again. And so I downloaded Zoom here, and if you double click Zoom, it tries to open itself up in an archiver. So if you right click it, you can't open it with the App Center. You do that and it will just get a little spinny circle of doom for all eternity. So that doesn't work either. So in the Ubuntu, we have no GUI way any longer to install a deb package. Now, is this good or bad? Very few software packages are being deployed merely as deb packages. This was Zoom. Of course, you can get it in other platforms as well. I think Zoom is actually available as a snap package now, officially. Let's go ahead. Whoop. Of course, I need to search for Zoom, not for snap. So there you go. Here's your Zoom client. And this is is this a snap? Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a snap package. So there's that. I don't think we have a Debian package for it. But we do have a snap package for it. I believe there's also a Flatpak for it as well. So you have options for that. Now, if you do find something that you need to install in a deb, you would just need to go ahead and do that over here. So let's go to our downloads, verify our file is there, and you need to do a sudo dpackage and -I and type in the name of the file, enter your password, and then you're going to go ahead and install it through using that method. So it's kind of funny. Ubuntu is the leader of getting people a good GUI-focused Linux distribution. Now you have to go into the terminal for basic things like installing deb packages. That's a downside. There is still one more downside to the Snap Store while it's installing that, and that is this very childish good, very good. I didn't see any bad there, but of course this is the explore and the feature type stuff. Here's insufficient votes. Basically, this good or bad is based on the number of votes and the relative ratio of those votes. So 152 votes. I just think that this not very good, not enough votes. I think it's irrelevant. Show us how many reviews there are and what the star ratings are. I think that this is part of this dumbing down culture and part of this childish culture that is taking over computing that I think is utter nonsense, but it fits in perfectly with all these giant bubbly shapes and all this other nonsense that I personally find abhorrent, albeit it does not really get in the way of using your system. There were errors issued here. Let's see. Dpackage prevented it. Let's see. Not installed. This is not installed. This is not installed. So I guess Zoom didn't get itself installed. Oh, it did get itself installed. Look at that. So it tells us we have some errors, but in anyway, it is still installing itself. All right. Well, I'm not planning to use Zoom on this anyway. Just illustrating how to install a deb package should you need to do so. There are a few changes under the hood that you can't really see inside of this. First is there is the up and coming Y2038 bug. Yes, all of us like me who have survived Y2K and can live to tell you the horror stories of nothing happening that night. We were all concerned. There was another one coming up, which was going to be impacted by the year 2038. based on how bit rates are calculated and utilizing 32-bit systems instead of 64. And a lot of those 32-bit date calculations got migrated over, and that was going to cause a problem, which you say, well, that's still over 10 years out. That is true. However, some of these systems, for example, this version of LTS will have 10 years of possible support. And so it comes right up on that line. And if you're still using software that was technically end of life a couple years ago, like most people are, guess what? You might have an operating system carrying through to the Y238 issue. And so that has now been patched. Other things is, as far as your wireless networking, we do have a new protocol for wireless networking. One of the more standards in most routers is the WPA2 protocol. Well, the WPA3 protocol is starting to roll out. So thanks to a change in how they're managing their networking such, forgot to write down the name of the actual package here. The system will allow you to run WPA2 and WPA3 wireless networks simultaneously, meaning that if you have one of these transitional routers in between these different protocols, you will have no problems at all with Ubuntu. Further, for anybody doing gaming, as we covered in a news article not too long ago, this edition of Ubuntu has a serious boost for gaming. There were some issues that made Pop! OS better for gaming for a while, for example, although being based by Ubuntu. This had to do with increasing the map count. And what Ubuntu did here is a little more than doubling it, bringing it up into the same standards that Fedora and Pop! OS used, meaning that Ubuntu should now also be capable of good gaming as well. So those are some of the things that we can't really see in the distribution that are kind of behind the scenes. One additional one is the power efficiency. Again, we talked about this in the Linux news a couple weeks ago. With the new CPUs, there is a new protocol that you can call for power efficiency. And so if you go up now, and in that article, they actually said there's technically 4, but 3 available in the GUI. I still see only 2 power options for the GUI here. However, that's probably because I'm on a virtual machine, and my virtual machine is not seeing my computer's battery, and because of just the way it's configured. So you have the option for power mode and a more efficiency mode, but we might also see the options for a higher mode as well. And there is a silent mode that if you're using a laptop and Ubuntu is running raw on it and you unplug it, it will hit the processor with a better command than the previous versions of Ubuntu had, which will greatly increase the battery life on modern CPUs. And I forgot exactly which ones those were. But the newest, I'd say the last, I think, 2 or 3 generations of Intel processors specifically will have a power efficiency boost when you're using these on laptops. Now, as far as things that I think are still issues, we already talked about the deb issue. The deb packages, they do not have a good GUI way to install them anymore. They removed that. You can still install some GUI deb managers if you happen to need those, but it almost is a moot point because more and more packages, you either have it available as an app image or as a snap or as a flat pack. So I can kind of understand that. If you do need one, the capability is still there without installing extra software through dpackage. However, it is still pushing snaps incessantly, and a consequence of pushing snaps, in this case, they have now transitioned Thunderbird to a snap. Now, this is causing the Ubuntu repository to get into a matter of kind of disarray a little bit as the developers are abandoning better updates to the repository in order to push snaps. Now, it's not entirely the case. I did look at Audacity, for example. The version in the repository is very new. The snap, it almost actually looks like it might even be newer than the snap version, unless they have their numberings don't line up correctly. So I am seeing that with pushing more snaps, we are seeing a degradation of the Ubuntu package base, and that is a big negative because of the amount of distributions relying on Ubuntu going downstream. Now they're either going to force themselves into snaps or reconfiguring themselves with Flatpaks, or going with more outdated and software that is not as vetted as it has been in times past. So that it certainly is a concern with using this. That being said, overall, I think this edition of Ubuntu is very good. It is a nice welcome addition with some extra features inside of the inside of the Linux community. Just one more thing to mention on the snaps is since they pushed Firefox and Thunderbird, and there was a somewhat visceral response from some of the community about those, then one of the things that we started to see happening is Mozilla specifically started rolling out deb packages for Ubuntu-based distributions for people that want to use Firefox and Thunderbird, also recognizing that the package maintainers of smaller distributions may not have the resources to curate those independent of the Snap Store. So we are starting to see that companies like Mozilla are releasing good versions of these that are independent of the distribution itself. And this actually can be good or can be bad depending on, do you want the software to update perpetually forever or not? And so that really is part of the question. So overall, this is a great edition of Ubuntu. I encourage you to check it out. Of course, it is still in beta, so wait until it officially releases. And like any distribution, I would not recommend that you jump right to it as soon as it's released. Give it a few weeks to work out the bugs, because there's always going to be some bugs, especially with such a massive code transition to this. We have the increase to the GNOME 46, which caused a lot of changes. We also had just a few other little under the hood things that are going to be a little bit different. So let's see what kind of bugs happen. They're usually pretty good about fixing those in the first couple of weeks. And then if you really want the latest of Ubuntu, go ahead and roll to it. I'd say about a month or so after the official release is a really good time. So with that, thank you for watching, and subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. Hit that notification button on there if you like such things. I don't personally. I'm not offended if you don't do that. Definitely, though, leave a comment, hit a like, and we will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.